guide, which is going to be on Hitter Pudge. I'm just showing off this new thing I came up with a couple months ago, and it's actually surprisingly been working out for me a lot, especially in ranks. Pretty much I'm just going to go through a demo right here and go through all the guides, and then at the end I'll show some clips from one of my ranked games that I did pretty good in. There will be some bias because I selected it to be good, but it'll just show off and highlight some of the key roles. So to start off, one of the key items this whole build is based around is shadowblade. What this can do is, if I skill rot real quick, what you can do is rot and go invis, and what will happen is when you come up to someone, they'll be slowed and take damage, but this modifier won't show up for them because you're invisible. But it shows up for you because you're the one doing the rotting. So that's pretty much how this works. You can go up. It's really an efficient way to kill supports, especially if they aren't buying wards. But that's pretty much what this whole build is built around. I don't recommend doing it if you have another invis hero on the team, but you still can, because whatever, the more invis the better, and I guess the more wards they have to buy. But it might screw up your invis hero, but whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So to start off, what you're going to get is tangos, 2 mangoes, and you can either get an orb of venom or a windlace. Recently, they changed the slow on rots, so it's not as much anymore, which used to work really good with orb of venom because you could slow them and they could not move out of the way, and you could constantly attack them, so you did more damage. But recently, they changed the slow, so windlace could also be just as good, and it builds into tranquil boots, which is the next core item. Personally, I go Orb of Venom because it allows you to get 70 damage or whatever it is level 1 with every attack, and you can just keep rotting them, but it depends, up to you. That's just starting items. So as you continue on, the next core item you're going to want to get is Tranquil Boots. It gives you key regen, which will help you balance out being invisible and taking a lot of damage. With rot, you want to be healing more than the enemy is, and you'll do more damage. Pretty much every time you go to rot someone, you're always going to pop your tango, which will be giving you a bunch of health regen. If I put my boots away, you can see I'm getting 12 health regen, which compared to an enemy like Axe, who's only getting 5, I'll be doing more damage to them than myself. And the tango or mangoes are helpful because they offer, with this build, you get 1 extra HP regen, and later on, when you need key mana from Meat Hook, you'll have it with the mangoes. Pudge does have one of the smallest int gains in the game, and so mangoes are really helpful early on. If you find yourself running out of mana or whatever constantly, you can always pick up some more. They're pretty cheap now. They keep changing them around, and so yeah. So as you level up this guide, you're going to start off with the rot, hook, and then it's up to you which one you go next. If you have a lot of regen, like let's say you got your the ring of regen, then you could go rot again, but I recommend going hook because it adds an extra 70 damage and increases the range, so on and so forth. Go rot again, go hook again, and then I'll level up a couple more times. At about level 11 is when you might get your shadow blades. That's probably where I could see myself getting it, and you've probably used up both your mangoes by then, and probably the tangos also. And from that, when you get level 6, you're going to do Dismember, back to Hook, so you're going to max Hook. And here, at level 8, you're going to want to get Flesh Heap, which will, it'll give you some more damage and health, which will help with the rotting effect and everything else. You're going to continue on to get Rot, and then for your level 10 talents, you want to get the 35 Rot damage instead of actually leveling up Rot, because the difference is you get 30 damage normally leveling it up, and an extra 5 if you do the talent. And finally, you want to max Rot at level 11. Now, the next item that you're going to want to get is Echo Saber, which normally if you're doing a Pudge build, you only want to get Aether Lens, because Aether Lens offers mana regen and mana. But what Echo Saber does is it doesn't give you as much as it gives you, but it gives you more intelligence, strength, attack speed, damage, and it lets you attack twice. Now with Echo Saber, you can come up invis, get 2 hits off, and then proceed to do whatever combo you want. You could either immediately ult and hook to finish them off, or hook first and ult them after. If you hook first, it'll go on cooldown and you will have it up sooner after your ult is done. but it can be risky because you can miss it. Now, if you level up to level 15, which is the next key part of leveling up, I guess, you're going to go Dismember, plus sheep, and then you want to get the 75 damage talents because you're getting Echo Saber. With Echo Saber, you'll do an extra 150 damage when you do the double attack. And this is, I think this build, I came up with it because of the 75 damage talent. There's no real reason for it because the spell Lifesteal is really good if you're a tank. But with this build, it's really helpful, especially if you're coming up to an axe. Hang on, let me refresh that real quick. So what you can do is when you're coming up to an enemy, rots go invisible, come up, and you want to do as much damage as you can. They'll try to like run away, and you want to follow them and do as much damage as you can until your Shadowblade's about to expire. And at that point, double attack them and ult them, and whenever they're low enough, you can just finish them off with a nice hook. Now, I play a lot of Legion Commander in Pudge, and Legion Commander is all about getting more damage, and Pudge is about getting more health. However, with this build, you're going to want to be using your Flesh Heap to gain more damage, because it does offer you strength, which is health and damage. So the more kills you get early on, the more damage you'll have in the mid-game. That's pretty much the core items for Hitter Pudge. The rest you can build, it's up to yourself what you build. You could get a Blink Dagger. I don't think I've ever bought one when I played Shadowblade Pudge. Agnum Scepter is really good because you can ult someone and then immediately hook them after it's done, which it pretty much is double damage for hook, which is like 700 damage, about a little over 720. You can also get Blade Mail. Blade Mail is probably the second item I would get, just because it'll let you run away and stop enemies from attacking you, and in some situations it can be helpful. Rot is going to be core because as you gain more health, you're gonna also like want that regen. And once you get a heart, you're probably gonna drop your orb pretty soon. Once you get your heart, that's when you're free to get Boots of Travels instead of your Tranquil Boots. You won't need them anymore because you have the regen from Hard Trask. That's pretty much core. Whatever else you want to add onto it, I've done where like a late game item, I've switched out Echo Saber for a Bloodthorn, just because when you come up to someone, like for example, I'll do it on this axe real quick. When you come up to someone, you can come out and ult them, and this will do an extra, after 5 seconds it does an additional 30 damage, which can help, and it gives you the mana regen and a little bit of attack damage. So that's a nice item I like. It's kind of unusual for Pudge, but it's up to you. This whole build's pretty unusual. So yeah, I'm going to cut to some clips from a game and commentate on those. Alright, so first off, I'd like to, this is just from one of the games. It goes mostly chronologically. I think it actually all is. But the first thing, one of the key components to the early game is getting First Blood. The +1 Flesh Heap stack will really help out later in the end game. I think you can get an extra 4.5 damage or so if you take the talent at the end, which I always take the +2 Flesh Heap, just because it gives you a lot more health and strength. The second part's about just kind of being quick on rotations. I got really lucky here. I was able to help save Sniper and turn this fight around mid. Bowling mid is actually really good, especially if you're playing a roamer like Pudge. Just because especially when you get your Tranquil Boots, you have a lot of mobility. Here's an example of just running around. It's a lot of downtime to heal using your Tranquil Boots, and you can get around pretty fast. So yeah, I'm just sneaking up behind mid here, and Sniper's going to need some help. And Pudge is really tanky, and he's able to just kind of, especially here, I just tank for the Sniper, and the Shadow Fiend can't do anything about either of us, even though we're so low. Over here, I just keep going actually after mids. The Tranquil Boots really help while I'm building up the Shadowblade cost. They actually, since I started making this video and have been recording, the cost of Shadowblade has gone up, which is a little annoying, but it's not too much of a hassle, and so it's fine. A lot of things with Pudge, this guide is about being patient. See, I was waiting there for the moment until Sniper's ready, and then I got a pretty good hook off, which is just helping out Sniper more. I've already killed him 3 times. That's +3 Flesh Heap, which is a lot more damage later game, and if you follow the guides, Pretty soon I'll get the talent to level 1 Flesh Heap, which will really help out in getting kills later on, especially when I get the shadowblade. My favorite part is that they're pinging Pudge is missing, and then I just keep going around and killing everyone. But this part is an example of dying for Flesh Heap. I think it's always worth it to die as Pudge. You're not a very you're not one of the main cores, but you actually kind of turn into it once you get Shadowblades. But dying, just getting that Flesh Heap, it's just bonus damage, and there's no risk. It's a lot like Legion Commander. She could duel, and you'll get more damage, which Pudge does, but there's no risk in getting kills. This part really annoyed me, because the CM's just one shot, but this part's also an example of dying to get Flesh Heap, which I think it's always worth, as I said. So I clean up the CM. She should have gone straight back for base, especially with a Pudge nearby, but that's +1, you know, so she doesn't know it, but this next section is about kind of getting creative with the Shadow Amulet and Patience also. I don't really know what this Disruptor was doing during this fight. He goes right back to him, and then he runs into our mid. Kind of silly. I don't know. Now, this continues on to getting creative with the Shadow Amulet, and you can use it to like hide around. I originally was going to use it to gank the Shadow Fiends, but then I noticed a DD. Now, this is where Patient comes key, because a DD is especially worth it to Shadow Fiend. He gets so much damage, mostly because of the armor reduction. Just like it's like one of his main goals. It's the Aegis to him as it is to Ursa. Ironically, Shadow Fiend doesn't even go for it, but I don't want to spoil anything, even though I just did. While you're waiting for your Shadow Blades, you could do this. The amulets, I would always go the amulet before the Claymore, mostly because the amulet will let you get out of sticky situations, or delay them at least. Yep, there comes Disruptor. I think at this part leads into a big team fight where we just end up losing, but I get +1, and so it's always worth it for me. Yeah, I get obliterated by the Shadow Fiend. Actually, I got the deny off. That's correct. So it's not a big loss, but still, they drop a bunch of ults here, and it gets pretty nasty for my team. Finally, we got one more. This is demonstrating the Shadowblade kill. Just the main thing behind this whole guide. I feel like I should have included some more of how this works out, but this is just a pretty good example of coming up, rotting, and getting the ult off. I almost died to him, but you know, that's fine. And finally, this is just outsmarting a PA up here using the Shadowblade. I like it more than the Blink, because Blink you can't escape from if you're taking constant damage, but with Shadowblades, you just see right here, I just get away. Well, actually, I continue on for the kill, just because, you know, Flesh Heap is all I care for. And yeah, that pretty much will conclude the Hitter Pudge guide. You don't have to subscribe if you don't want to, but I mean, I would appreciate a like. Just anything to let me know. It really helps with all this guide stuff. So I'll see you guys around.